It can be raised up to serve us. So I think that is, and to go to the heart of your question, what is winning through adversity? Winning through adversity is being able to come to a place where you know that this is not the end, where you're able to think creatively and say, what else can I do? And then beyond that, what else can I do with the experience that I have gotten from my adversity? That is what differentiates winners. That is what, categorizes people who win through adversity. But going on to the earlier point, right?
Mhm.
You can do all of this, right? And I'm hoping that this really blesses somebody here.
Hmm.
If you are listening to me and that voice is in your head every single day, even up until now, going back and forth, saying it to you that you are not good enough. Let me tell you what can release you from that torment. What releases you from that torment isn't only because a lot of people teach us, "Oh, affirmations are good." I love affirmations. I love them. I love visualizations. I love them. But guess what is even better? Guess what is even better? Stepping off the boat. That is
Whoa.
your biggest weapon. That is your biggest response to say, you know what? I do not care what you say. I
Mm.
do not care I do not care how you try and limit me. I believe that I am great. I believe that there is greatness on the inside of me, and I am going to walk in the direction of my light. That
Mm.
is how you come out of it. That is how you win. That is how you stay winning. You come to a point of in your life. You said you are in a fight for your life. That is
Mm.
what I want to understand. There is no second chance. You are not going to go somewhere tomorrow and they'll say, "Oh, by the way, you can start all over again." I heard Pastor Kunle Shorion talk about something amazing. He said, "This life, is just play.
Absolutely.
There's no rewind.
It's true.
It's just a play." So no one's going to come and say, "Oh, by the way, you know what? You've suffered enough. But so let us go back in time and let's rewind to when you were 10 so that you can do better."
Mhm.
Life is going.
Absolutely. It's a journey.
Life is going. So you have to decide how, you have to make a choice how you want to respond, what you want your legacy to be, what you want to use the adversity that you have gone through for. Because if you don't use it for something, if you don't step off the boat, if you don't, come out and purposefully bless somebody, then it would have all been a waste.
Mm.
The experience that you have gathered, the things that you can teach somebody, you will keep it within you. And guess what? Guess what? Guess what the master says about somebody who holds back like that?
Mm.
The master says, "You wicked and lazy servant,
Absolutely.
wicked,
Hmm.
cast him away where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth."
Mm.
It is on you. The responsibility is on you to harvest the good that came out from that bad and bless somebody else. It is on you.
Welcome to the Beautifully Becoming community. This is a sacred space for honest, faith-rooted conversations that encourage healing, inspire growth, and help you step into the person God is shaping you to be.
I have a pleasure of, introducing my special guest. She's no other person than Tonbra. Nwosuagwu, she's a transformational coach. She's a podcast expert. I'm just going to go ahead and read her bio before I bring her on. Now, how did this come about? Like Tonbra's life story, Tonbra's life message is to help people make better choices with what they choose to accept about themselves. Wow. And this desire was baked from her personal story of overcoming adversities in childhood. I have the pleasure of bringing on my special guest, Tonbra Nwosuagwu, I really want to officially welcome you.
Oh my goodness, what an honor. What an honor. What an introduction. I am super glad to be here. I am excited for what you are doing. I have to say, I know that you honor me by saying that I coached you, but to be honest, what's happening now is that I'm learning from you. I'm learning from your passion. I'm learning from your speed. I'm learning from your consistency. I'm learning from your commitment to your listeners. And I've just got to share that honor with you. I love you and I celebrate what you're doing here. And I know that, lives are being transformed every single day just by what you're doing here. So God bless you. And thank you for bringing me onto this platform. I am super glad to be here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So apart from what I've just read on the bio, is there anything else you would like the audience to know about you?
Well, two things. First is my family life. Family is really important to me. But beyond that is what I consider the legacy that I want to live when I leave this earth. What I want is to be able to, help people see the more that exists within them, help people make better choices about themselves, help people, transcend beyond, adversity and limitations and go on to manifest their higher selves. This I believe is the mandate on my life, particularly in this season. And I'm pursuing it, aggressively. That's what you need to know.
I've seen people who have gone through life's adversity and it made them bitter. It made them wounded. They carried out woundedness all over the place. And it's more like the thing where they're like, okay, this person did this to me. I would show the next person, or I wouldn't, I'm going to change my style. They're just really not empowering other people. Instead, they're using, they're doing the direct opposite. So I really, that's why the empowering stands out, just using your story, sharing your story to really empower other people and just directing them and showing them, hey, I went through this so that nobody else would go through it.
Have to go through it.
It isn't for me. It's just to
it isn't.
Absolutely.
It isn't. And I feel a leading to add something, but I feel a leading to add this. This is a difference between a reservoir and a stream. A reservoir holds. It holds water. The water becomes stagnant. It becomes stale. It becomes smelly. So when we in our lives emulate that, we do not flow out into anybody. And guess what? Even if fresh water flows into a reservoir, if the reservoir water is already stale, everything becomes contaminated.
Absolutely. So true.
So we want to be flowing streams. We want whatever has come through us to flow throughout to other people. And guess what? We get blessed with more. We get more freshness. We get more insightful ideas. We get more blessed. We get more anointed because we are flowing out through to people. I just felt led to add that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This is really so key. Let's just dive right in. So today we're looking at, winning through life's adversity. Hey, we've already started it already. So we've already, and I just like the way the conversation started because it just kind of like more like an introduction. Yeah, but we didn't really worked out well. So winning through life's adversity, I just really want to know, does this really resonate to you in any way?
So I think the first thing I want to say is that, a lot of times people think, adversity is this one bitter, bad thing in your life. But what we must understand is really adversity is very multi-layered. Let me tell you, we have so much power in us. I believe in the divinity that rests on the inside of us. Wow. And we have so much power that if we will wield that power, we can do so many things. Let me tell you, I love the scripture in Ezekiel 37 where they said that, can these bones live again? I believe that every single adversity that comes, our way, we can use it. It can live, it can rise. God is the God that raises dead bones. It can be raised up to serve us. So I think that is, and to go to the heart of your question, what is winning through adversity? Winning through adversity is being able to come to a place where you know that this is not the end, where you're able to think creatively and say, what else can I do? And then beyond that, what else can I do with the experience that I have gotten from my adversity? That is what differentiates winners. That is what, categorizes people who win through adversity. But I thought I'll just drop that. But back to your question, I started off life really, really on a really, really kind of like what I would describe, what I would say as a shaky. But now that I look back on life itself, I know that it was only the hand of God that was evident on my life from a really, really young age. My mother and my father, and I'll summarize this really, really succinctly. My mother and my father had me. When my mother got pregnant, my dad, didn't want her to keep the baby, gave her, they weren't married, by the way. He was married to somebody else. He gave her money to go and get rid of the baby. My mom decides that she's going to have me, uses that money and, takes care of herself, and then comes back when, obviously it has passed the stage of aborting. So if instantly from there, you can already see that my first adversity was actually in my mother's womb.
Wow.
That was where my first, just being able to survive and come to the world was already a mission for me and a milestone for me. And I came here, and even when I arrived onto this earth, it just felt like there was no place for me. It felt like I wasn't really welcome. My dad was a bit, like, you weren't meant to have this baby, you had this baby, that kind of thing. My mom, it wasn't really, she didn't really have a lot. She didn't have money. I was born on the floor in somebody's house. A rusty blade was used to cut my umbilical cord. I was wrapped up in rags on the day I was born. So I didn't look like much. Eventually, when I was about 5 years old, I was put in a boarding school because my mom, she was like, you know what, I've got to, do my own thing. My dad, doing his own thing. I was put in a boarding school. Again, it almost reinforced that feeling of rejection in my heart. Like if rejection had a face, it would have literally been mine. I just kind of felt like, what is it? Even at that small age, at that young age, I just kind of felt there was something inherently wrong with me. That's how I felt. When someone feels like I am not, when you say you're not correct, you don't come, like, I just felt like I did not come correct. That I couldn't understand it, but I just knew that it wasn't right. When I was about maybe 6.5, going on to 7, my mother decides that, you know what, she can't do this again. She'd been taking care of me. We shared a tiny little flat in Festac. I slept on a rubber mat in the living room. Till that age, I didn't have a bed. When I was about 6.5 years old, she decides that, what, she's traveling. She puts a letter in my hand. She put a backpack on my bag and on my back. And she says, we take a taxi, and she points her house in the distance, said, that's your father's house. Take this letter. That's it. I'm off. And my
Wow.
mother, yes, and my mother left. So imagine that happening to you, like you waking up and it was good. Now that I look at it, I really do see the hand of God, in everything, because then I couldn't really understand it, but I now understand it because it's like Moses needed to grow in Pharaoh's palace to understand the ways, to understand the etiquette. If I'd grown up with my mom and all of that, yes, I would have still, but I needed all of that to happen to be brand Tonbra, the brand Tonbra that you see today. I needed that to happen. I needed to grow up in the way and the manner in which I did eventually. But that's not to say, I said, so the point is, all of this just constantly kept playing in my head, and it's interesting because you can seem fine to everybody, but in your heart, in your head, the negative voices just keep going on and on, almost like on replay. People will speak, and even almost until today, and it's funny things that we don't know how deep that cut can be.
Absolutely. So true.
You don't know how deep that cord can be. Somebody says something to you or someone does something to you and you're regurgitating it every single day. That
Mhm.
was me. People would do stuff. Everyone would come out. I just always felt like they're better than me. I felt every single person. I don't really care. At least your mother wanted you. At
Mm.
least you were not dropped off on the listen. At least you did not get put in boarding school. At least you were what they wanted to give birth to you.
Mhm.
At least I just kept saying all of this and it kept tormenting me in my mind.
Wow.
Every single day, I felt like there was something wrong with me. But going on to the earlier point, right?
Mhm.
You can do all of this, right? And I'm hoping that this really blesses somebody here.
Hmm.
If you are listening to me and that voice is in your head
Hmm.
every single day, even up until now, going back and forth, saying it to you that you are not good enough, let me tell you what what can release you from that torment. What releases you from that torment isn't only because a lot of people teach us, "Oh, affirmations are good." I love affirmations. I love them. I love visualizations. I
Mhm.
love them. But guess what is even better? Guess what is even better? Stepping off the boat. That is
Whoa.
your biggest weapon. That is your biggest response to say, you know what? I do not care what you say. I
Mm.
do not care I do not care how you try and limit me. I believe that I am great. I believe that there is greatness on the inside of me, and I am going to walk in the direction of my light. That
Mm.
is how you come out of it. That is how you win. That is how you stay winning. You come to a point of in your life. You said you are in a fight for your life. That is
Mm.
what I want to understand. There is no second chance. You are not going to go somewhere tomorrow and they'll say, "Oh, by the way, you can start all over again." I heard Pastor Kunle Shorion talk about something amazing. He said, "This life, is just play.
Absolutely.
There's no rewind.
It's true.
It's just a play." So no one's going to come and say, "Oh, by the way, you know what? You've suffered enough. But so let us go back in time and let's rewind to when you were 10 so that you can do better."
Mhm.
Life is going.
Absolutely. It's a journey.
Life is going. So you have to decide how, you have to make a choice how you want to respond, what you want your legacy to be, what you want to use the adversity that you have gone through for. Because if you don't use it for something, if you don't step off the boat, if you don't, come out and purposefully bless somebody, then it would have all been a waste.
Mm.
The experience that you have gathered, the things that you can teach somebody, you will keep it within you. And guess what? Guess what? Guess what the master says about somebody who holds back like that?
Mm.
The master says, "You wicked and lazy servant,
Absolutely.
wicked,
Hmm.
cast him away where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth."
Mm.
It is on you. The responsibility is on you to harvest. Harvest the good that came out from that bad and bless somebody else. It is on you.
Wow. This is just being a drop mic moment, and I was just lost for words. Like I literally lost words, but I was really enjoying the conversation. Has been really super, super incredible. Wow. Yes, I had to really breathe down. Honestly, like I just really want to know, like, such an interesting story, such an incredible story. And, who would have thought that having gone through all of that in childhood, you will come out to be this woman who is honestly my coach, my mentor, right? Who is impacting lives, you know, touching lives, remolding lives, shaping lives. You didn't stay in that place of adversity and be like, after all, I didn't live, I didn't have, I didn't enjoy, but you stepped out of the boat. And I just want to know, like, was there a moment of awareness for you? Was there a particular time or a particular stage of your life, or what would have triggered you to wake up from that comparison, from that place of I'm not good enough type of mindset? What was that thing that shifted your mindset into, winning, into I can't continue like this?
I love it. That is such a good question. So I encountered my sort of like my aha life moment. And this is why it's so interesting that you could have, you know, adversity, and you could live in this position or place of torment perpetually. I'm telling you, in your subconscious, that will be directing your steps without you even knowing. They say, IJ, there's a job here, come and take it. Instantly, the voice rises up in your head. Is it people like you with this accent that take that job? Is it people like you who are from this part of Nigeria that take that kind of job? Trust me, they're looking for somebody else. You can be there without even understanding. So I guess my moment came when one day I just felt, and this I can only attribute it to God. I almost felt like I was living a lie. I was tired of pretending to be like everybody else when I knew that there was something that was missing in me. I was tired of putting on a show. I was tired of, trying to front when really inside of me I knew that Tonbra, the chatter that goes on in your mind, they said in Yoruba, they'll say konormal. It's not normal. This chatter that goes on in your mind every time when something is about to happen where you only think negative, where the first instinct in your life is to think this will not work. There is a reason why you think like that. And then I started to trace it and I realized, and the thing is, the beautiful thing about awareness, I'll tell you, IJ, yeah, is you don't have to know the answers. You just have to welcome it.
Absolutely.
You don't have to know the answers. You see, when you welcome it, it will be like you, when you knew that there was something about podcasting. There was something about my voice that needs to be let out, but you didn't know how. But because your heart was open to it, you didn't even say there's something about podcasting. You didn't know that, but because your heart was open, the minute you hear podcast, instantly, let me tell you, it's the divinity in you that recognizes that is where you're meant to go to. And it's that divinity in you that leads you and says, IJ, contact Tonbra. I'm telling you, that is how we are wired as human beings. There is a contention in our spirits. There is a contention between good and evil in us. The devil is trying to overpower us, but there is good in us that speaks through the still small voice. But how you empower that voice is by quietening down, is by allowing yourself come to a state of awareness to say, look, there is something not quite right. I am looking for something more. So it was me getting to that state and I didn't know the answer. But what I then decided to do, I said, you know what? I've never paid anyone for coaching in my entire life. Never paid anybody. Because I didn't understand what a coach would do for me. And this is the importance of coaching and mentorship. So you guys are listening to me. Honestly, don't waste your life. I told you there is only play. No one's going to rewind anything. No one's going to pause anything for you. Nobody is going to do that. I got to a point where I said, there has to be more. And I got a coach. Same thing. And the funny thing was like this thing that had happened to me, I had gotten so used to masking it. Wow. I was a pro at masking it. Some of the things I started saying out of my mouth were things that even my husband had been married to for over 10 years, I'd never told him.
Wow.
I said, these are some of the things that happened in my childhood. He was like, what? Because I was a professional at at pretending that I was okay.
Hmm.
So I went and I got this coach, and this coach started with, tell me your story.
Hmm.
That was where my life changed. And I started speaking. I started speaking. I started speaking. And she was like, oh my goodness, you're sitting on power. You
Hmm.
know, you know what I see in you? I see you helping people birth their next levels. And she
Hmm.
talking to me about what she saw in me. And as she started to paint these pictures and these images, I started to see it too. She started to speak to that divinity on the inside of me.
Mhm.
That baby in my spirit that had been there since I was born started to leap.
Wow.
Because she was speaking that language. She was saying, yes, there is greatness on the inside of you. Da, 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 da. But she said, wait, but first, to prove that you are you first of all, you've got to do the work of healing. Then you've got to come out and talk about it. You've got to share it, because it's in sharing it that you will have more power. It is in
Mm.
sharing it that is where your secret source is.
Wow.
When you hide it, the devil loves for us to cower in shame, loves for us to hide, loves for us to be repressed. But when you come out, you say, look, I shame my shame. You can't even, there is nothing that you can say to me about this. So now when those guess what? Those words in my head, they don't even come anymore.
Mhm.
Because what are you coming for? What are you coming to say? What are you coming to say? Because I've already said everything. So what are you actually saying?
So true.
I've said everything. There's nothing to hide, so I have no shame. And that is how you start to get your deliverance, as it were. That is how you get to a point where you start to think creatively. I started to think, what can I do with this pain? I believe that everything, God is a God who raises dead things. I'm telling you, the thing that you think that are dead, God can raise it. God spoke to Lazarus and said, come forth. He can speak to the mess in your life and say, come forth.
Ooh. I just felt like I was in church.
He can speak to the mess in your life and say, come forth. But you must come to that place of awareness. You must come to that place of invitation. You must come to that place of readiness. You must come to that place of that your new season of wanting something more. And when you do, you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised at how many options you have. You'll be surprised by what God wants to do with what you have experienced, because it happened for a reason. That's it.
Wow. Thank you so much for really sharing this. And I just really want to know, like, you did some healing work, definitely everybody needs to do some healing work, and this healing work is more like a continuous work,
It's not one.
It's not a one size fit all kind of work. It's something you have to continuously do. I just really want you to touch a little bit on some of the healing works you did.
So I think where my healing work started from was understanding that there was nobody to blame.
Mm.
Yeah. And let me contextualize it. When I say that there is nobody to blame, you have to understand that we're all wounded animals on this earth. Every single person. There was nobody that was born to be a woman beater, or there was nobody that was born to leave, their child, or and move on. There was nobody that was born that way. We were all born in the image and the likeness of God. But guess what happens? Once we get put in this contaminated earth, people start to impress upon us behaviors that are contrary to the spirit, the divine spirit that already rests within us. So once you understand that, you start to trace it back to say, look, that means that this person who did this thing to me wasn't necessarily doing it to me. They were doing it because they're flawed in themselves. Themselves, they are broken. Themselves, they're damaged. Themselves, there's something in their mind that isn't really working right.
Mm-hmm.
If that is the case, they were not born that way.
It's true. So
They were
true.
nurtured into that behavior. So if they were not born that way and they were nurtured into that behavior, then it's really, in a sense, not really their fault.
Hmm.
It's really not their fault. I'm not condoning the behavior. I'm not saying I'm going to sit around for it. But what I am saying is that I'm able to draw that line and say they are not what they did. They are the divine entity that rests underneath that. And the things that they did, guess what? They are things that they have been influenced here on earth to do. And they were not necessarily doing it to me. They were just perpetuating what was inside of them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And one thing I gained from what you just said is, certain understanding brings us healing. Coming to an understanding of a particular thing skyrockets your healing. And that's why the Bible says, in all you're getting, get understanding. Wisdom is the principal thing, but in all you're getting, get understanding, because they are certain understanding about, something. There's a certain level of understanding you gain. In fact, your healing will be tripled, and your healing journey will skyrocket.
Yes. Yeah. And when you are able to do that, guess what? The next thing that happens is that you start to have empathy. So rather than anger, it changes to empathy. You say, you know what? I pity you. I feel sorry for you because I don't think you understand the level of damage that already exists within you. You need to go and do your healing work, my friend. That's what you say.
Absolutely.
So you don't carry that as an indictment against you. You don't say they did it because it's IJ. No, they did it because they are damaged. They are flawed.
That's true.
And they were influenced wrongly. And if you are able to then make that distinction, you're able to say, you know what, it is not because it is IJ. IJ is perfect. IJ was made beautifully and wonderfully. This just happened because of the influences that they've had. I'm telling you, if you are able to make this correlation, 80% of your healing work is done.
Absolutely. I agree.
80%. Because you're now not looking at yourself from a level of self-pity, bitterness, resentment. All of that starts to wash away from you a little bit. You're just able to say, you know what? I am thankful. I am thankful that I am still standing despite everything that has happened. And you're able to take what you need to take from learnings you need to take from that. And then you're able to move forward. So that's the first step. The first step is just that awareness and being able to trace. Yeah. And then the second thing I want to share with you, which I think will also help, I call them, and I love what you said. You said something around, healing, it's an ongoing thing. It is. So what I've come to an awareness of is something I call identity leaks. So identity leaks are things that kind of almost, so if you imagine yourself as a container that is full of God's goodness, glory, all that. Identity leaks are like things that make your container porous and let some of your essence pour out of it. And as part of our walk on this earth, right? Let me tell you something. We get a lot of identity leaks, but we just don't know we do. By the time you walk on the streets of Instagram, you see somebody doing something, you're instantly saying to yourself, God, I wish I could do that, or I wish it, part of your essence starts to leak out, because once you start to compare yourself to other people, you lose the sight of your own glory. You lose the sight of your own glory. Once you start to compare, all this negative comparison, all of this, you lose your own glory. So what you do is you've got to come to an awareness of yourself, of your essence, of your level, what you are supposed to be like at a minimum. And whenever you notice yourself coming down from that pedestal, guess what? You need to be poured into. You need to have a circle of people that you say, you know what? That is the only way that I stay on the level that I stay. I'm not always, sometimes I'll have something that just comes almost shaking to me. Maybe it's a word somebody says or a thing I've seen. I take a wrong perspective here. Instantly, I start to lose my essence. And that's how people slip into depression.
Absolutely.
You start to lose your essence. You don't know why. You were okay like this on Monday, Tuesday, you're down here. Wednesday, you're down here. And you started, but guess what? If you notice that you're here on Monday, Tuesday, you're down here, before you get to Wednesday, you need to be filled. Your identity needs to be refilled. So you need to have people in your corner that you can pick up the phone and say, look, I don't know, and be honest be honest. Remember I said we are in a fight. Don't waste time. Don't waste time trying to say, oh, I can't, like, I'm not really sure. But no, be aggressive in your contention for your life.
It's true. So true. So true.
I will just I have people I pick up and say, look, I'm having an identity leak. I don't know what they'll say. Oh, what happened? I must have seen somebody and it's just made me have some sort of negative comparison. It's not helping me and I'm losing my essence. I say, oh, Tonbra, do you know who you are? Tonbra, Tonbra, you're amazing. Tonbra, they start to fill me back up. The problem is a lot of people don't have people who fill them. They're not intentional about being refilled. And that is why healing is difficult, because you heal today, tomorrow you have identity leak, you regress back to the pain. It's just, and you just pin.
It just brings you to that cycle of that phase. And I really, really like it that you really touched on, surrounding yourself with the right people, basically. Somebody you can always talk to, somebody that is more like your identity energizer. Whenever you feel down, you just have somebody, like-minded people that you can just surround yourself with, that you can share things with, and you can encourage yourself, and you're very vulnerable with them. It's so key. It's really important to have such people in your cycle, especially being intentional about this. And especially when you talked about some things, and what just came to my mind is, being emotionally aware.
Yes, that's it.
Being emotionally aware, where you are aware of your emotion and you know that, okay, something is wrong with me today. I'm off. I was a little excited at the start of the week.
Yes.
What happened? What changed? And you're going back to Monday and you're trying to figure out, okay, and then you're trying to check and see, okay, it was true. It was here that I started getting this leak from. Being emotionally intentional, emotionally aware goes a long way.
And attack everything. They say, when it comes to your life, the contention for your life, use a hammer to kill a tiny ant. Attack everything with vehemence. So I don't waste time. I don't even pick up the phone and say, oh, I'm not really sure why I feel. I go straight to the point. I said, look, because they know, the people in my circle, they know this is what I need. I said, there is something, I've got an identity leak. Oh, really, you have? We get straight to work.
Okay.
And before I come off that call, I feel myself again. A lot of times people wait till they drain and empty out and fall upside down before they get to work.
Yeah. This has been really, really sweet. So before we go into podcasting, I just really want you to talk to somebody just briefly, just kind of like a brief summary. It could just be one sentence, someone who's really listening right now. I just want you to speak directly to them, tell them anything that just comes to mind. It just have to be,
no worries. So I want to tell you, dear listener, that I have come on this podcast specifically for you. The reason IJ has invited me on this podcast is because of you, because you are precious, because you are a weapon in the hands of God, but you have not allowed yourself be potent yet. And the reason you've not allowed yourself is because of all of the things that I talked about, perhaps self-doubt, you've had adversity in the past, and probably because you don't even know the power that you carry. You don't realize that there is power within you. So guess what? You can't wield power that you don't know of. You cannot punish somebody, or you cannot, like an authority, like, when we're back in school, the teacher says, he doesn't know that he's allowed to tell the children to kneel down. I'm not sure. You cannot wield power that you are not sure. You have to know that you have that power. So I want you to realize that as part of your commitment to listening to this, you've listened on your own accord, but guess what? You cannot unhear what you have heard today.
Absolutely. So
You
true.
cannot unhear what I've already told you, that there is only play on your life. There is no rewind. There is no fast forward. You are just going to be on that play in a steady state. The sun will rise tomorrow, it will set. The next day, it's going a steady state. I want you to be aggressive. I want you to be radical in your desire to win in your life. This
Hmm.
life belongs to you. You're not a second-class citizen. Tonbra
Hmm.
is not better than you. IJ is not better than you. I want to speak to your spirit, and I want you to stand up.
Wow.
I want you to use what you have in your hands. God will always ask you, what do you have in your hands? Your experiences. I want you to use that. Your originality. I want you to use that. You have natural abilities, things that you do better than other people. Someone came on my podcast, Dr. Sam Ekundayo, and he says that there is a divinity on the inside of us, that he says how we put it was so special. He said that there is when God said that I put myself like I'm not saying this word, but you might have to cut that. But anyway, he said that God put himself, when he says, let us make man in our own image and likeness, and he put his breath into all of us, that he put a small letter God. And by that, what he said is that when he did that, he did it because there are some things that you can do at the level of God.
Hmm.
It won't be everything. So he didn't put big God. If you put big God and breathe that big God inside of you will be God too. But it
Absolutely.
was small God. So he put that thing in you because there is something that you can do that you have superhuman capabilities in. That
Absolutely.
once you touch that thing, everybody can do that same thing. But once you touch it, this was a revelation from Dr. Sam Ekundayo. It was so powerful. So I want you to know that you have superhuman capabilities in some things.
Hmm.
It is your job to excavate it. The Holy Spirit is not going to come down from heaven and excavate it. I don't care how many messages from how many churches you listen to. No one is going to come and do that job for you. No pastor is going to do that job. Your husband is not going to do that job for you. Your wife is not going to do that job for you. You have to take that responsibility and stand up for what you believe in and be radical in your desire to transform your life and live as the highest expression of yourself. If you do not and you fall short of that, there is nobody else to blame but you.
Hmm. Wow.
So I want you to rise up. I want you to understand that you are a person of power. You're a person of influence. You're a person of impact. You have a tribe.
Hmm.
If you don't know that you have any work on earth to do, hear this. Hear this. You have a tribe of people that have been called to you. When God told the disciples, Jesus Christ told the disciples, I will make you fishers of men. That the instruction was to all of us. What
Absolutely.
IJ is doing here is she's ministering to her tribe.
Mhm.
You have a tribe that's called to you as well.
Hmm.
You don't go out to look for them. Guess what you do? You stand up tall and they find you.
Absolutely.
That
Wow.
is it. So rise up and shine like the light that you are, so that your tribe can find you, so that you can be a real fisher of men.
Wow. Wow. This has been so good. Oh my God. Really good, really good. Now, really good. I just don't want us to move on, but we definitely will move on. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for pouring out. I really enjoyed this conversation so much. And I just really want you to tell us a little bit about your podcast. And I've really, part of my life's journey, or part of the things that has kept me in my journey basically, and kept me flourishing, was listening to you, showing up. You're such an inspirational role model. I just really want you to share some
Thank you.
ahas, from your podcast.
Okay, cool. I can do that. I can certainly do that. So when I started, and one of the things I want you guys to know is when I started podcasting, right? My friend was on my case. I used to do IG lives. It's called Moments with Tonbra. I used to do them. And my friend said to me that, you know what, you can package this thing and have it. She had a podcast. She said, you should do a podcast. So I started off not because I could see where I was going. And there's instruction here. There's instruction here. I started off not because I could see where I was going on. I started off in faith. I just stepped off the boat. She said, you know what? I think you need to package these conversations that you're having so that people can find it globally. Before they find you on your Instagram, they have to know you. They have to go on your IGTV. They have to scroll down. Instagram doesn't even have a search function to search. You have to scroll down. Nobody, all these things that you're doing, and this is that it might sound like a plug, but it is a plug. If you don't have a podcast, honestly, you're slipping on a bicycle. You should have a podcast, right? Somebody have to go on your Instagram and all that. It's long. She said you need to have something that will be packaged for posterity where people can find you globally. And I said, okay. I identified only 2 guests. 2. 1, 2. It was like the widow of Zarephath. I was going to eat my bread and just stay. Like my 2 guests, that's it. But guess what? After I interviewed those 2, more guests came. I didn't know where they were going to come from. But I would just see this person. I'll say, I would love to interview you. They will say, yeah, I would love to come on your podcast. I would see another person. I would love to interview you. And that is how I have continued without breaking. So there is instruction here for somebody. You might not know how it will work out. But if you step off the boat, if you step off the boat and invite God, or walk towards God rather, you honestly, it will be amazing. It would amaze you the things that you will do. You don't need to know the answer. You don't need to know the final bit. I didn't know when I started that I would be podcasting for a whole year. Like, come on, like it didn't look like it. I was so nervous on my first guest. I was like, that's what it was. But it's fine. It's fine. Done, not perfect. It's fine to start as you are. It's fine to start as you are and you find your feet as you go along. I just couldn't see my message. I was talking about manifesting your higher self regardless of circumstance. And that is what the Unscathed Life, that was a message that God gave me for that season in Unscathed.
I just wanted to touch on your new face. The Unscathed Life is having a different name, and there's this transitioning, and there's this rebranding, and there's this whole la coming out with Unscathed Life.
So yeah. So the podcast is transitioning, and again, this is all about understanding times and seasons. I was in a part where, at the time where I was, it was all about Unscathed, just pushing beyond adversity. But I realized as I started conversing with a lot of the guests that would come on, I started noticing that there was kind of like a brand of guests that appealed to me more. And the brand of guests that appealed to me more were the guests that came and say, you know what, I pushed beyond adversity, but not only did I push beyond adversity, I'm also doing this. I've used my adversity to do this, and this to help other people. So I said, you know what, these guests, I started thinking that these guests, they understand something unique about themselves, that they were created for more. That is more than their circumstances, more than all of that. There is more on the inside of them. And I thought to myself, and I think it just dropped to me, in my spirit. And you know what? I got the divine leading to change the podcast so that it aligns more with the conversations that, that where I am now in the season of my life. I want to speak to people who understand that they were created for more.
Yay! I am incredibly excited. I just really enjoyed this conversation. Yeah, it has been an incredible, beautiful conversation. Yes.
Same here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for spending this time with me and the beautifully becoming community. I pray today's conversation reminded you that your journey has meaning. Your process is sacred, and God is still at work in you.